And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Today we're talking about Carnival. This was a game that was kick-started, and I didn't know much about it when I got it. It said a deck and dice game. Yay for dice! Yay for the theme. Like I said, there's too many boring themes out there. The Carnival is a good theme. Let's take a look at the game, and then I'll come back with my opinions on it. At the beginning of Carnival, each player will take 5 different rides that are here, and each of these rides has 2 sides. This has a ticket, which means, hey, the ride's open. This is, before it's open, color is added once it's open, but at the beginning of the game, they're not open, and you're trying to open for them to win the game. Now, what players are going to do is they're going to be drawing, they're going to start with 3, but they're going to have different parts for the different rides. Now, this is one thing that I think is a graphical problem with this game, because these part cards, the only difference between them is the words on them. If this, I know these symbols here, it just would have been so much easier had they been a different color or shown the lights on the card, because many times you're looking at other people's cards across the table and all you can see are these words at the top, and it just would have been a lot easier had they been differentiated. Be that as it may, I will say I do like the artwork on the cards other than that. But that's a problem, somewhat. But anyway, players are going to start with these cards, and you have to discard down to 6 if you have more than 6 cards in your turn, and at the end of your turn you'll draw up to 3. So you have somewhere between 3 to 6 cards in your hand. Players also have 3 tickets that they can use during the course of the game. Now what players are going to do is they're going to roll 3 dice in their turn. Now I have to say, I don't really like these dice. They're light and wooden, and they just don't work so well. So for the purpose of this demo, we're going to use 3 superior Dice Tower dice. But anyway, you roll 3 dice in your turn, and then you're going to take the numbers that are rolled. So I rolled 2 6s and a 1, and I'm going to take 2 of these numbers and use them. And so I put them here to show that I'm using those numbers on the board. If you roll 3 of the same number, then you can use all 3 dice. You put the 3rd die here on this, bonus spot. But other than that, you're only going to be able to do 2 of the dice. What do the dice let you do? Well, each person has a little card that tells you very easily. You roll 1, you draw a card from the deck. You roll 2, you can take the top card of the discard pile. You draw 3, you can trade a card, or you take a card from someone else. You roll 4, you can trade a card. You take a random card from someone else and then give them a card back. 5, you can take a card from someone else's midway. That's this spot down here, and give them one of your cards. And if you do a 6, you can just steal a card from a midway, and then you have to take a card from your hand and put on top of the discard pile. So there's a lot of interaction in the game, stealing cards from people's hands and such. And at the beginning of the game, it can be kind of, you don't really even know what you're getting, especially if you roll 5s and 6s at the beginning of the game. But anywho, once you have parts of a ride to put down on the board, what you are allowed to do, you can put parts of a ride down. I need at least 2 parts of the same ride. So I have materials and lights here, and I can play them on top of the Ferris wheel. And you need 2 to start, so it's a little rummy-ish in that aspect. And as the game progresses, I can add more, so I get the banners for that ride. Hooray! So I have the materials, the lights, and the banners, and I'm still looking for one other thing, but I can always use a wild card to finish off the ride. There are wild cards in the game, and in fact, you can use wild cards at the beginning of your turn to discard. And in fact, if I get, for example, let's say I have banners and seats, and I can move the wild over there, and I can play seats down, and I have a full set. Now, one of the cool things is, when you're completely finished with a ride, and I used all 4, I didn't use any wilds, you can flip it over, no one can ever steal those parts. But if you don't, you can steal parts, which actually makes wilds not quite as useful as you might think, because while they help you finish rides, people are stealing cards in this game like mad. And they're going to be constantly stealing wilds from you. So you can finish your ride, but that's basically how the game works. You roll your dice, you do your actions, and then you can start a ride with 2 or more cards, or you can continue rides that you've already started. So the first person to finish 4 rides is the winner of the game. The rules of the game recommend that if you're playing with 4 players, you play partners, and then you have 2 people working together across from each other. This game really tanked with the folks that I played it with. I played it with some kids later, and they enjoyed it a little more. But I said, well, it seems like it'd be a good game, so I solicited, talked to people that I knew who've played this, and I hear that a lot of people are enjoying this game. I didn't absolutely despise the game. It was just really mad to me. I already mentioned some of my biggest problems, but one of the biggest problems that this game was the rules were just not clear, and I did not like the way they were laid out. The rules are laid out, I think they're laid out kind of, the Carnival thing, but you have these game notes on the side, so when you're reading through the rules down here, and then the game notes, there are a lot of important rules that are over here in the game notes. So these are just part of the rules. And there were different things, like for example, and this is maybe something silly, but it doesn't say who goes first that I can see on here, unless I missed it somewhere, because the things are kind of all over the place. And one of the things I didn't mention in the rules explanation, and I should mention it now, is you can use a ticket to modify the rule of a die. You can use a ticket to re-roll a die. You can use a ticket to block someone else from taking from you. That's great. You got 3 of them, and you get a ticket back whenever you finish a ride. Okay, that's fine. Modifying dice rolls is something that's awesome and cool and neat, and I like games that let you do it. But with 3 tickets, and you might get, if you win the game, you'll get 4 more tickets over the course of the game, but it's not enough really to make this much of a strategy game. In fact, this isn't a strategy game, okay? This is a rummy variant, really, and it's one that I can see the Uno crowd liking. And it's very light, very fluffy, and I can see some people really enjoying themselves with it, but it just isn't going to fly with me and the folks I play with. Even the kids, I think they would have enjoyed it more if the pictures on the parts of the rides had been there. The theme would have come through more. As it is, you're just trying to get 4 purple cards and 4 red cards. And your actions are dictated by the dice, so you roll you roll a bunch of rolls that you really don't need. And then when you finally do get something, someone steals from you. It's just unsatisfying, I guess, would be this. And the rules just felt like they weren't gone over at the very end there. Someone didn't read them and say, hey, what about this, what about this? Because we kept having questions. We referred to these a whole lot during the course of the game. Well, what if you need to take a card from someone and they don't have a card? Or, can you it was just, there was different things. So, I know this is coming across as a very negative review, and I don't mean to make it so, because I went and looked at the comments, and apparently I'm in the minority on this one, and a lot of people are enjoying it. So you might, if you look at it and it looks like something fun, pick it up. Not one that I'm going to keep or play much more, but it's a good first start for this company. It looks neat, and it's a great theme, and I'd like to see more from this, just a little bit more polished perhaps than this one is. Carnival.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.
Yeah?